Okay, so a couple days ago, I did finish Symphogear GX. So that's 39 episodes out of 65. I am 3/5 of the way done with Symphogear. I don't know when I will start the next season. What is it, like XV or AX, some shit like that. Probably either the first episode tonight, maybe I'll start watching them tomorrow, but within the next couple days or so. I can't lie. I felt really disappointed by the last 3 episodes of GX. Like, when I was watching season 1, the last 3 episodes were fucking immaculate. So it starts with Shoot the Moon, which, like I've said, is one of my favorite episodes of all of Symphogear. Just, like, looking at what happened to the last 3 episodes. You got the girls fighting Fiend, you got the Tower of Babel moon laser, you've got Chris doing her swan song, which is this big Toho shit. You've got Feral Beaky kicking Fiend's ass, but then she turns on Subs, and then Subs has to, like, calm her down, fight Fiend by herself, but then she's, like, down for the count, and then Beaky's gotta deal with this shit by herself. Like, they beat the Tower of Babel. Then, I don't remember exactly what happened, but at some point, like, Fiend becomes the Whore of Babylon and this massive Ava angel, but the girls now all have new forms and are fighting together, and they beat Fiend, who's still alive, who then takes her whip sword and hooks part of the moon and is bringing it down to Earth to kill everybody, but still gets a nice redemptive villain send-off because Symphogear, and then they go into space and break that part of the moon and save the world. That was a crazy-ass last 3 episodes. Looking at G, Season 2, what happens in the last 3 episodes? Like, well, first off, you have Ver losing his fucking mind every time he is on screen. The most insane over-the-top faces. Sugita just having the time of his life, hamming it up every time this motherfucker opens his mouth. The frontier, just like this Atlantis Lapida fucking shit, just coming out of the water and then going into the sky. Ver going full Muska, because I was like, this is just some Lapida shit. I love it. Losing his mind. You've got... excuse me. You've got at one point, like, Genjuro's like, how do I save this? I'm gonna break this machine. Breaks the machine. Nothing happens. Well, shit, guess I gotta go kick this dude's ass. Which was really fun. You've got the fight with the Nephilim, which I thought was really cool. Like, the thing just starts shooting fucking tree missiles. And then at one point, it's shooting a fireball, and I'm like, I just want someone to punch a fireball. Please, Beaky, do this for me. And then she punches a fucking fireball, and of course that works. You've got the whole spirit... You've got the spirit bomb singing. It's like, you have to resonate with my song. And it's like, and then Ver's like, you only have 6 swan songs. You think you can beat the Nephilim? No, idiot. We have 7 billion. And then they get new forms. And then Suku has a fucking mech. And then they're beating the shit out of this thing. Like, we can't kill it. What are we gonna do? We're gonna open a portal in time and space and throw it into the Gate of Babylon. But shit, Maria's getting sucked into it. We can't abandon her, so they jump into the Gate of Babylon and are just fighting shit. And then they have to fight their way out of it, and it ends with them all fucking exhausted until Miku runs on the fucking beach, grabs the Staff of Solomon, and then just hurls it into the fucking troposphere, where it goes into the portal as it explodes, like as it closes, which causes a massive explosion. And I remember finishing those 3 episodes and going like, dude, I need some water. I feel exhausted. That is a fucking climax. That was amazing. That was incredible. It was just so much crazy, over-the-top shit, and it just never stopped. Whew. I did not feel that with the finale of GX. I think a big part of it is Carol, and which is weird to say, because I feel like Carol has been the best main antagonist so far. I like her design. Like, it's very simple. Like, at one point, though, because her hair is so long, at one point it's like, does she have a tail? And I was like, oh, no, that's just her hair. Like, she has a nice dress. There's other times where she's wearing, like, the magician cloak. I was like, that looks really cool. She has this super form she uses with the harp. I was like, that's also pretty cool. And, like, okay, so essentially this is it. The fight you get with her in, what was it, like, episode 6? was cool. I really liked it. This was just a longer version of that when she's actually fighting. Like, I mean, there is some cool shit where she's like, all right, like, I'm using all this magic power and just, like, blasting people. It was cool, but I'm expecting something more at this point. Like, okay, what happened in season 1? All the crazy shit I said. Okay, what happened in season 2? All the crazy shit I said. Carol didn't get a new form. There wasn't, like, some crazy-ass fucking monster. It was just like, oh, we're just fighting her again. It's cool. She's now singing, and her song is, like, it's nice. But, like, that's it. The one, like, really cool part was the FIS girls are in the floating castle, because there's another floating castle. I don't remember what it was called. It was the Chateau something. I never wrote it down. I kept forgetting to. But the Chateau, and the idea of the Chateau is, like, it's this big flying thing that is tuning Carol's song, kind of like how Beaky can tune, like, their friend Swan songs, make them stronger but reduce the strain. The Chateau is doing the same for Carol. That I thought was a cool idea. The FIS girls go up there with the rescued Dr. Vare to stop it. They see, like, a genjutsu of their mom. That doesn't dissuade them, so it turns into Maria, and then they're fighting Maria. Like, that was pretty cool, but even while watching it, I just wasn't that invested in it. I was like, okay, like, this is cool, this is fine. When do we get the crazy shit? Or it's like, why am I not connecting? And I don't know why, but I just kind of didn't. I mean, the last 3 episodes start with Beaky and her dad having another meeting, and he's like, yeah, you know, like, can you talk to your mom for me? Which, again, just makes me think of Biff Tannen. Like, can you talk to your mom for me? Like, well, you should do it yourself. Why don't you do it yourself? Yeah, but, I'm a man. Like, I'm too proud to be able to, like, to have to do that. I mean, you're my daughter. Can you do that for me? Please? Like, I just fucking hate you. And then Beaky doesn't want to deal with this shit either. And then, you know, Carol shows up and she's just like, Beaky, it is on site. I fucking hate you. I want to see you suffer. I want to see you die. The world took my dad from me, so I'm going to take your dad from you. And then starts, essentially targeting her dad, who gets up and just runs away. And this part's kind of interesting. Because Beaky tries to transform, and then Carol literally knocks the Gungar out of her hand. She's like, oh shit, I can't transform. Which, props to Carol for doing shit like that. There's also a part where Beaky gets it and is transforming, and she immediately attacks, like, no. If I can stop you from transforming, I win. Like, I appreciate a villain actually trying to fucking do that. But the thing gets knocked away. The dad gets up and starts running. And I'm like, okay. Looking at it at the light, most favorable to her dad. He sees that this thing is important, that she needs it to fight, and is like, I am gonna go grab it. Also, if she is after me because she wants to hurt my daughter, the further away I get from my daughter, the safer she is. Like, if I can keep her distracted, then Beaky will be fine. That takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of guts. That's something very respectable. And they make it sound like that's kind of what he's trying to do, but even then at one point he's like, yeah, I was just trying to run, but the way it came across was I was literally just trying to run, but since she's focused on me anyways, I might as well just try to keep her distracted. So, like, it's not even that heroic, and, like, yeah, he grabs Gungar and throws it back to her, like, that's nice, but you know what he reminds me of? Because he even says at one point, he's like, yeah, like, when he sees her transform, he's like, I was right. That was my daughter. Like, it's a good thing I reached out to her. It's like, you know what you remind me of? You remind me of Derek. You remind me of Derek from the DreamWorks film Monsters vs. Aliens, who was going to get married to Susan, who he absolutely loved and shit, but as soon as she turned into the giant woman, he's like, I can do this. You know, because I think even before the marriage, when they're talking about the new opportunity, if I'm remembering correctly, it was definitely like, I'm kind of forcing this on you. Maybe not. Maybe I'm not giving him enough credit. I don't remember exactly how that part went, but it was when she became giant. He's like, I don't want you anymore. I'm trying to have my own career. I'm trying to have my own image. And being married to a giant woman, it's just not going to happen, sweetheart. And then at the end of the movie, now that she has saved the world, he's like, hey, babe, how are you? How's it going? You know, you did just save the world. That means you're good enough for me now. So how about an interview? Because he's like a reporter, an anchorman. I don't remember, some kind of news guy. He's like, hey, I mean, it's now beneficial for me to be with you, so let's get on that. That's how Beaky's dad feels. It did not, to me, ever feel like I so deeply regret what I did to my family because they did not deserve what I did. They deserved better than my weakness. And I'm so compelled by that regret and by my own humility that I want to try to make things better. I want to be able to be a father to her again. I want to be a husband again. I don't deserve it, but if they'll have me, I would be honored. Instead, it comes across as, hey, that girl reminds me of my daughter. Did my daughter just save the world? Huh. You know, if my kid saved the world, she's probably doing pretty well. And I'm not doing that great. You know, I mean, I just kind of work at a convenience store and I'm kind of broke. But if my kids save the world, I mean, might be a pretty good government stipend. And I mean, my wife was pretty hot. I remember thinking Beaky's mom is like, oh, she's pretty cute. Like, you know, like, my wife was pretty hot. I could go back. I mean, all like that bullshit, all the hard trouble that they went through, that's probably over. I could probably come back now. It feels so slimy. It's just so disgusting. And even Beaky saying, hey, I don't want to help you with this. Like, if you want to get back with mom, that's something you need to do yourself. Yeah, but I don't want to. I don't want to. That's hard. I have my pride after all. I can't just come crawling back. Like, wow. And the fact that at the end of the season, Beaky's like, you know what? I forgive you. You were cool. Oh, God. So the scene where, because like one of her things throughout the show, I believe this was throughout the show. If not, it was just a thing in season 3. She's like, you know, it's going to be okay. Everything is all right. That's her recurring phrase. Or it's something very, very similar to that. Like, it's okay. Everything will be fine. It's a thing she says to kind of like keep herself going. Especially in like her like roughest of times. Which is something her dad used to say. So, I feel like the show had the gall for Beaky to say at the end of this season, it's like, you know, you left me with that. And so every time you were gone, like even though you abandoned the fucking family, you were never away from me. You were always there with me, looking out for me and watching over me because you left me with those words. Which on the one hand, I kind of get it because the thing throughout the season is Carol saying, this is what my father left me with. He left me with a final problem, a final challenge to understand the world. Because like his last words like live and like learn about the world or something very close to that. And she's like, the only way for an alchemist to learn about something is to dissect it. So clearly what he meant was learn about the world, so destroy it and take it down to its components so I can learn about it. Which when she said it, I was like, there's no way she's that stupid. That's dumb. I really thought it was just the world took my dad from me, so fuck him. Which by the end of these episodes is like, yeah, that is literally what her motivation is. I'm like, cool, that makes way more sense. That's way more sympathetic. I am not rooting for you. You want to blow up the fucking world, but the world took away my father, so I'm taking away the world. Like, I cannot deal with my anger and frustration even after all these years because he was that important to me. They don't deserve to live. That's fucked. That's dark. But I get that. I don't like saying that I get that because I sound like a fucking psychopath. But like, it's a revenge story, and it's like, I always like revenge stories. And Beaky has always said throughout the season, like, my father left me with nothing. He just abandoned us. So by the end of the season, she's like, okay, my father did leave me with something. He left me with some really important advice, and it's something I always take with me. But for her to say, you've always been there for me. No, he hasn't. He dipped, like, when you needed him most. And it's not even a sympathetic thing. Like, if it was genuinely, like, I had, like, severe gambling debt, and I knew that if I was here, all of the people, like the debt collectors or whatever, would be coming after us. But if I left, they would just be coming after me. I did this to keep you safe. I did this to, like, there was a lot of shit going on, and if I was there, it would have been worse. I had to leave. I know it was hard for you. It was hard for me too. But I did what was best for the family. If it was something like that, you're like, okay, what you did was horrible, but I guess I can get it. It was literally just comes across as like, I couldn't deal with it. It was too hard. Bye. He was not with you. He abandoned you. Like, like it makes me really mad that they did, like, they wrote this dude despicably, like, perfectly despicably. And then at the end they're like, yeah, but I mean, he said some nice shit to Beaky once and she always remembered that, so it's fine. No, it's not. And then at the end of the season where he goes to meet her mom and he's like, hey, and he's being humble at this scene. I'll give him that. Like, hey, I wanted to come back. I wanted to see if we could start over. And he like bows and he holds out his hand and she just hesitates. She's staring at him and it's this kind of combination of, why the fuck are you here? Why did it take you this long? And I don't want to accept, like, is this real? I want it to be real, but I don't want it to be, because if I accept you, you will break my heart again, and I know you will. And then Beaky takes both their hands, and she's like, hey, it's okay, we can be a family again. Which is a very classic Beaky thing, but I'm like, I just don't like what they did there. It really bothers me. And just for whatever reason, despite it like being shown like super big, like we are literally destroying the world. And when you see that, that's actually really cool. And then they reverse it and they're like, oh. I remember when I saw the first episode of season 1 and Kanade died going, this is one of two things. Either A, they are establishing that this show will have legitimate fucking stakes. Or 2, this is just an episode 1 thing. And as much as I enjoy Symphogear, as much as I enjoy the spectacle, it's just a season 1 thing. Your main characters, despite the bullshit, despite Chris like falling to her death in season 1 and dying from her swan song, despite Beaky clearly fucking falling to her death in this season, I don't know how many times I've seen Tsubasa like basically fucking die, despite the FIS girls being in a place as it exploded, and miraculously they don't even explain how their friends like, yeah, Vare died, but we're fine. Oh, by the way, I have to talk about that. Pin and Dr. Vare. There's no, like, I am genuinely never afraid that these girls are gonna get out of any situation. Which is, on the one hand, it's fine. Like, it's basically a Saturday morning cartoon. It doesn't have to have major stakes. But it does kind of take me out of it at points where you're like, all right, we have to do this crazy bullshit that we're up against. And like, okay, but I know everyone is going to be fine. Because there's not, like, Beaky literally got her arm bitten off at the end of episode 5 of season 2, which was fucking crazy. I was like, that's really hype. Because I want, like, you have now established huge stakes, and I want to see how she deals with this. Now that you don't have one of your hands anymore, like, oh shit, you can't do your tuning power. What are you going to do with it? Well, A, later, she's able to do the tuning without the hand holding, so never mind. And also, she just grows her fucking hand back, so it doesn't matter. So, like, the lack of stakes, the shit with the dad, and it's like, did Carol do anything? Like, did she get a new form, like some crazy Ava thing? No, and it's like, hey, the girls got, like, new outfits, which I think were the same ones they had at the end of season 2, and it just wasn't nearly as epic as it was at the end of season 2. Although, like, Beaky gets a few good punches, and I think there's, like, a good gut punch and a good, like, punch to the face. Those were really cool and satisfying. I think there was, like, a cool couple dive kicks, too. it was like, this is good, but man, it felt lacking. So let me take that pin out of the wall. What the what? So Ver in season 2, like I said, on the one hand, he's a guy who's like believing his own bullshit. What's the word? The phrase from Road to El Dorado. You're buying your own con. Ver is very much someone who like, I am nuts. Like, I want to take over the world. I want to be the guy in charge. To do so, I have to clean house. Like, I am essentially, like, what he wants to do is wipe out humanity, be the new progenitor of humanity. And that will make him the hero of the new human race. That is my understanding of him in season 2. Because he literally is like, yeah, like, to be the hero, like, I gotta start fresh. We're gonna, like, bring down the mood, kill everyone else but us on here. And then we can talk about how we can, like, rebuild humanity. It's like, gee, I wonder what you mean by that, talking to Maria. I don't know if that's also your plan for Akka and Suku, but with the way you were looking at Akka's boobs a few episodes ago, it wouldn't surprise me, you damn weirdo. He's a horrible person. And then in this season, they're like, oh no, they actually give him his heroic moment, and he's like, it's okay, like, I could do this, I could save everybody. And it's like, man, you really went out as a hero. He didn't deserve that. Which I feel like is supposed to be the theme of season 3. It's about forgiveness. And as they talk about, Vicky is able to forgive her horrible dad. Carol able to forgive the world for killing her dad. Being able to forgive Dr. Ver. But even that, forgiveness is like trust. It's one of those themes where sometimes it almost goes too far. It's like, you should always forgive somebody. You should always give someone another chance. Maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, you know, fool me once, shame on you. Can't get fooled again. I don't know. I feel like trust is one of those things that should never be unconditional. And this is coming from someone who could be very trusting. Like someone who, you know, loves my family, loves my friends, and trusts them with a lot. It should never really be unconditional. Like, if someone burns you, you keep that in mind. If they burn you again, you keep that in mind. You can forgive somebody. Like, it's like that phrase, forgive and forget. I'm like, I don't know. You can forgive somebody. It's like, look, I'm not going to hold this against you anymore. I've moved past it. But that doesn't necessarily mean you should forget it, because it still happened. And it's an important thing to remember that this happened. And then granted, if it's like a minor thing, then it's like, okay, forgive and forget, whatever. Your dad abandoning you, you don't forgive and forget that. This motherfucker, my plan is, I know the moon is gonna crash into the earth, and I'm trying to let it happen so everyone will die and I'll become a god and a hero to the next human race. You don't forget that. That's an important thing to keep in mind. Like, it's so frustrating because to me, GX was so good. I think that's the crazy thing. Like, the first 3 episodes, to me, had the quality and crazy hype factor of a season finale. Like, the first 6 minutes of GX, I still think are like peak Symphogear. And like, I loved what they were doing with this season. I really liked the auto scorers. I liked some of the interesting shit, like Beaky dealing with her dad, Subs dealing with her dad, some of the shit with Maria and how she's like, I have to now be an idol. And really what that means, like, is pretty interesting. You've got Akka and Suku who are like, we actually kind of suck. Like, we're not as compatible with our gear. Like, we need to actively take Linker. And without it, we're useless. Like, we are actively holding back the party. Which is pretty interesting. Like I said, I felt like Chris's stuff was okay. It just wasn't as interesting to me, but it wasn't bad. I thought just, like, watching the auto scorers fight and some of the crazy shit they were doing, that was really cool. Like, fuck, I don't even remember what happened to the big mummy. Because I was like, oh, this is going to be, like, the big final thing. Like, this is going to be our Whore of Babylon or our Nephilim. I don't remember what happened to it. I think it was just gone super fast. Like, didn't leave an impression. What? It was just disappointing. And this is the only time I have finished a season, like a last couple episodes, and went, okay. That was it. I'm not supposed to think that after Symphogear, especially not a season finale. The shit with Elf9 was pretty nice, though. It's like she got injured protecting someone, so essentially her body was dying, but Carol in the fight burned all of her memories, so she didn't remember anything, and she meets Elf9 in the hospital, and essentially the conversation is, your body is dying, my body is fine, I have no memories, you have memories, so they just kind of fuse, which they kissed, which was weird. But it's Carol's body, Elf9's memories, so we essentially are able to save both characters in a sense. And yeah, Beaky essentially able to kind of save Carol by the end. It was nice. I liked it. Do I have anything else, like, specifically to say? Oh yeah, there was a scene where Hibiki is literally crying because Elf9 is going to die, and I'm like, I don't want to see this character cry. Like, Beaky wept, like Jesus wept. Oh, okay, this part was actually really cool. When they're trying to, there's just a bunch of noise, and they're trying to destroy, and there was some actually cool shit. At one point, Chris has a missile, almost like a fucking nuke, and shoots it with like a bow and arrow. That was cool. At one point, Akka and Suku like combine their shit. So you got like this giant buzzsaw with like a scythe blade coming out of it. It looked like a giant beetle, like they were piloting a giant beetle. And I remember looking at it though, and my immediate thought was, that's a buzzsaw Roomba. I liked the buzzsaw Roomba. That was fucking cool. Oh yeah, and at that same part, fucking Tsubasa had like giant skis. I thought that was cool. I did forget about this. Okay, this was something that happened that was fucking cool. So, I do apologize. I'd completely forgotten that this happened. Carol did have a new form where she just like absorbing a bunch of power, and she basically makes a Zoid. So I was like, that's a mech. That's an animal mech. That's a fucking Zoid. I did think this alchemy Zoid was pretty cool. It's not to me on the level of the fucking Ava Nephilim or the Whore of Babylon, though. The Zoid was pretty cool, so I did get something cool out of it. Okay, like now actually like looking back on like some of the shit that specifically happened, it was pretty cool. Like the way the fortress is introduced is the sky literally shatters and it just starts coming down. Okay, it's better than I was giving it credit for. It really was. Okay. So actually looking at my notes, there was still some cool shit. I do think these last 3 episodes, to me, in terms of their hype and spectacle, are the weakest. I would go Season 2, Season 1, Season 3 in regards to the last 3 episodes. I will also say the ending song never really clicked for me on this one. Like in Season 1, I thought it was great. Season 2, it took a little bit, mostly because the visuals of the ending I thought were just fine. But after a while, I was like, no, hold on a second. This song fucking slaps. This one I honestly skipped. I just didn't dig it. The opening, though, I think is probably the best opening in the show so far. I think the auto scores are the best antagonists so far. I think some of the character work is really good. It's the best looking season thus far. Overall, I would say GX is my favorite season at this point. And the first few episodes do a lot for that. Holy shit. I do think the ending, especially what they do with Beaky's dad, I get it in terms of the theme of, legacy of your father. You did get something from him and about forgiveness. It just didn't work for me overall. While there was some cool shit, I think the stuff earlier in the season was cooler. Maybe if we didn't see Carol transform halfway through the season, I would have been more hyped to be like, oh, she's got this like cool adult form. I dig this. Or like, oh dude, she's doing like this cool shit fighting with strings. Like Beaky's trying to punch her and she can't because of all the threads. Man, that's cool. But they already did that. So seeing it again, I was like, this is cool, but you kind of blew your load with it already. I want something new. Okay, there's a Zoid mech, but it's... I know I sound very disappointed, but it is important to say it's like this was my last impression of it, but overall I thought the third season was great. I'm still looking forward to season 4. I could be wrong. I think I heard that season 4 they fight the Illuminati. That sounds amazing. I'm actually really looking forward to fighting the Illuminati. I think that's really all I'll say. I will end it on a more kind of giddy sounding note. Be like, that sounds like some fun Symphogear goofy shit. I'll probably start in a couple days.